Hey y'all, welcome back to another session of Better Out Than In, Real Talk with Kai. I hope you guys enjoyed last week's session with my mom. She gave a little advice and feedback for parents who may have a child with diabetes or just someone who may have a member of their family with diabetes. I mentioned at the end of the video that I'll be talking about how it was for me going back to school when I had a aide with me and just kind of how that worked out, how it kind of assisted me in being able to adjust to being in a public school with having type 1 diabetes. So diving into it, my mom was an advocate for the Contra Costa County school district to get nurses back into the schools. So back in the day, they used to have nurses on campus and in the schools, but they cut that out a while ago. And so she was trying to get either nurses back into the schools to be able to, administer either insulin shots or to just know the symptoms or to how to look for or watch out for a person, not just with diabetes, but just overall for the children. I think it would have made it a little more safer. It was a little safer back then when nurses were in the schools. And so she had like an uphill battle with that. It was kind of an ongoing thing for a while. And then what she was able to do for me was to get an aide who was specifically there just for me. And so this aide would walk around with me during like lunchtime. In class, they would sit not next to me, but just in the class. Because when I was at school, I had to make sure each of my classes had a kit for me. And in that kit, it contained a juice box, emergency insulin shot if my blood sugar dropped too low. You administer an emergency shot that's basically like sugar water. It also had like glucose tabs that I can chew, candy, just like an emergency kit. Just like you would for someone who may have a severe allergy that would need a shot if they were stung by a bee or if they ate peanuts or something like that. And so each class had to have this kit, but a lot of the teachers were not comfortable with the idea of possibly having to administer the injection if my blood sugar dropped too low. They have a class full of students. You figure they have 20 to 30 students in the class, right? And they have to pay attention to all these kids. Plus, on top of that, they have to pay attention to me and see signs if my blood sugar is going low or not, which I understood. Like, that's a lot. Shit, just for me, taking care of myself and having the disease is a lot. So for someone else who, their obligation is to take care of the whole class, and then on top of that, to try and be solely responsible for watching out for my condition to see if they have to assist me further is overwhelming and a bit much. And so because of that, that's when I was able to get an aide who was certified in assisting people. So basically like how an in-home care person will take care of another person at their home, no matter what their condition is, they're trained to do certain things that are pretty much basic around the way for all type of people. And so this is what the aide did for me. And so at first when I got the aide, like it was a little embarrassing. Like she used to follow me like everywhere and just watch me all the time. I'm like, dang, like can you sit a little further away? Like you don't have to sit right next to me. Or like at lunch, like she would be watching what I was eating and making sure I was taking my medicine and stuff like that. But like after I'm done eating, you walk around the yard, the blacktop and everything with your friends, and you do what teenagers do at lunch. And this person is just following me, so I couldn't really get into much trouble. but I still found ways to get in trouble somehow. Um, and I don't recall ever having any episodes where my blood sugar went like super low, where I had to get the emergency kit administered. But I do remember that I knew I had those emergency kits. So like if I wanted a snack or some juice or something, I'd be like, oh, I need to get in my kit because my sugar low. Like those teachers, they weren't gonna say, oh, let me see your meter, or let me see if your sugar's low. So I used to get like snacks out of my kit all the time, and then I just have to replace it at the end of the week to bring new stuff, for the next week to make sure I had enough. And so I remember I had one teacher in my elective. We were doing I think it was kind of like a workshop class basically, but he had a mini fridge in his office in his classroom, and I used to have like diet sodas in there, and he also drank diet sodas, so I would bring enough for both of us. And I had like chips and candy and just a whole bunch of snacks in there, and I tell him he could have some, and he just replace whatever he eats. And so we kind of became like friends over the snacks. So I used to go in there and just get snacks and eat. Everybody in the class be like, he said we can't eat in class. I'm like, yeah, but I'm not y'all. So I kind of took advantage of that. That was pretty cool for a teenager. Like, that's my friend. He said I can eat in here. We cool like that. And nobody else can eat or drink in there, and I just be rubbed it in their face. I was kind of an asshole. But so yeah, anyway, but the aide, I had two. The first lady I had, she was there until I got into the 7th grade, and then when I got in the 8th grade, I got a new person, and she was a little younger than the first lady, and so we were able to vibe a little more. The first lady I had, she was a little older, so it was more like on me, like mom type of, you gotta do this, Kaya. Kaya, you can't do that. Kaya, are you okay? Do you feel okay? You look like you need something. Are you okay? Like really on it all the time, like kind of overly or micromanaging. It was like, oh my God, Mom, I can't do this with this lady. She get on my nerves. The second lady, like I said, was a little younger, so we were able to vibe a little more, and she kind of gave me that space a little bit, but still was like watching. Like she like, okay, look, I'm gonna be sitting over here, but you need to do what you need to do, cause if you don't, then I'm gonna have to be babysitting you, and if you don't want me to treat you like a little ass kid, then you gotta do what you need to do. So we had an understanding. So that was cool. And then when I went into high school, though, I told my mom, I was like, nah, I don't want no aide. Like, I'm going into high school. I don't want nobody walking around with me and shit. Like, that's hella, I don't want that. Like, I'm going to be good. I'm cool. I know how to do everything now. Like, so going into high school, I didn't have it. But thereafter, a lot of kids started to have aides with them at school, like personal aides. It wasn't like being in a special ed class where everybody is in, excuse me, in one class, and the teachers are basically aiding to those kids. It was just a specific person to one, so one-on-one, and people started to have them more, which was pretty cool that started after my mom did what she had to do with trying to get the nurses. So she didn't end up getting nurses back in the schools, but like I said, the aides on the one-on-one for kids with different type of disorders or diseases, she was able to do or start that, and that was pretty cool. It was helpful. Like I said, it was a little embarrassing at first, but I got a little used to it after I had the second lady. Just her knowing, she had teenage kids, so she was like, I know you need your space, but I gotta do my job too. So it's like, I understand. We had understanding. So, I would suggest if your kid is not doing what they're supposed to do, or they're having a lot of episodes at school, where their sugar are high or low, I think looking into getting a personal aide for them might be a good idea. Only because, like I said, when you're in those classrooms, those teachers have, 20 something other students that they are liable for. And so it becomes a little overwhelming for them and for, the person who has diabetes, because they don't want to be a burden on the teacher or on the other classmates. They don't probably want the other classmates to know about their disease. So just talking to your child about it, to see if they are interested in it, and just kind of looking into it and doing some research to see how helpful it will be. But again, I'm suggesting that if your child has a lot of episodes at school, if they're not having a lot of episodes, they're fine when they're at school, and they're doing, what they're supposed to do at lunchtime and things like that, I don't think they need an aid. But if they're newly diagnosed and going to school, or like I said, having a hard time, then I suggest you guys look into something like that. Because, like I said, it was helpful. It was. I did, get a lot of good out of having somebody there to make sure that I was okay. And so that was in middle school. And like I said, in high school, I didn't end up having an A, but I did end up getting what my mom kind of mentioned about, the new type of technology that they have, which was an insulin pump. It had kind of just came out at that time, and I had got one of those. So that was supposed to be more helpful and help me do better with making sure I was taking my insulin and checking my blood sugars and making sure I was taking the right amount of insulin and things like that. So getting that insulin pump, it was pretty cool at the first, but then like the idea of it was cool. I'm like, oh, okay, I don't have to stick myself as much, like only every 3 days I got to do it. But then when people started questioning me about, like, oh, is that a pager? Let me see. Or because it looked like a little pager. So it's like, no, it's not a pager. No, you can't touch it. No. And it was really expensive. So just wearing it on my pants where it was visible for other people to see it, I started to kind of get self-conscious about it. And then that kind of went downhill. I didn't really use it in the proper way. I wore it, which it gave me insulin, but I didn't, like I said, use it the right way. And then it was battery operated, and so I didn't change the battery all the time. And for a long time, the insulin pump wasn't even working. Like, I thought it was giving me insulin. I thought it was working correctly. But then I went to a doctor's visit, and they checked out the insulin pump, and they're like, it's not working. How long has it been like this? I'm like, no, it does work. Like, I've been using it. So for that period of time that it wasn't working, I wasn't even getting any insulin. So that's pretty crazy. But I didn't do that purposely. I didn't, like I said, didn't know that it was not working. And so, again, that's why I also say, by the grace of God, that I'm still here, because it was months that insulin pump wasn't working, and I wasn't getting any insulin, and I was still walking around doing things, being able to function, and all of that. So, again, that's another reason why I kind of had that denial of having diabetes, because when they told me, oh, it's not working, like, how long has it been like this? I'm like, nah, it's working. Like, and they kind of looked back at the records and all of that. They saw how long it wasn't working for, and they're like, we do not know how you are still functioning. And I'm like, well, maybe I don't have diabetes. Maybe you misdiagnosed me. I don't have it, and but clearly by my blood sugars, I definitely had some type of dysfunction with my pancreas. So it wasn't anybody but God. I had a purpose, and I still need to fulfill that purpose. And mentioning that, doing these videos, I've come across a few people who've, mentioned to me that either themselves or their family members have type 1 diabetes, and just sharing with me some things that are so familiar to me, um, with what I've been through and what I've experienced at a younger age, going through my teenage years and even in my young adulthood, that I'm just so very happy that I've finally accepted the fact that I have a journey and a purpose to share my story, and be a voice for other people. And I really hope that all of those people who've mentioned things to me, and for those family members that other people are concerned about, are watching, and just learning something that the things that I was doing wasn't right, and it ultimately is only hurting yourself. And so I'm gonna continue to do these videos, which I feel so proud to be doing and being able to help people. So next week I'll be talking about just going through high school, and kind of starting to tell people what it is that I have, and the type of things I was doing and hanging out, and when I was hanging out with friends, like who should I tell or who I shouldn't tell. And then I had an episode happen where my blood sugar was kind of crazy and nobody knew what to do. So just saying the importance about telling other people, that you feel comfortable hanging around, what you're going through and what your disease is, and just how to help you if anything happens. And so, again, I appreciate you all watching, following, liking, continue to subscribe, share. God bless.